a dream? Did he just tell me that I don't belong here? Hey! No. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alec. My daughter calls me Sunshine. This is a place where I'm free to be me on my soapbox. Okay, so I pretty much grew up in the boys club. And what I mean by that is I was the only female on my squad for years. And on top of being the only female, I was the only black female. That was a little rough, but sometimes we have to go through challenges in life to overcome the next big hurdle or the next big step in our lives to get ahead. Now, this particular person that was on my squad, he was not my sergeant, but he led the squad. So if my sergeant wasn't around, he was the next person in line to be in charge. This person took it to the extreme. And when I mean he took it to the extreme, he purposely would go out of his way to do mean and horrible things to me. He actually had the nerve to tell me in my face, yeah, you don't belong here. And I'm gonna make sure that you don't ever stay here. What? I was like, is this a dream? Did he just tell me that I don't belong here? In the academy, they taught us unity. Stick together. Be as one. But now that I'm on the street, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this is not what we learned in the academy. So you're doing everything to alienate me. I am the new person on the squad. I would think that you would welcome me into the squad so I can learn and be, great on the squad. But that's pretty much not what happened. And that's when I realized just because you learn something in-house doesn't mean when you go out of the house, those same rules apply. No. When I would go to work, this particular person would do things like tell the other squad members, hey, if we're supposed to meet at a certain time for roll call, we're all going to meet 15, 20 minutes before our scheduled roll call time. I wasn't told this. So I showed up on time for the normal roll call and no one was there. This is before we had cell phones, so I couldn't just, call someone on the cell phone and say, hey, where is everyone? No. It's totally different back then. But then when I started becoming aware of what was going on, I said, okay, since we want to have roll call minutes before it's time for us to actually be at roll call, I'll just start coming to work 25, 30 minutes earlier. Because I'm pretty sure you won't tell everybody else to arrive 30 minutes before roll call time. He told me, you know what? You don't belong here. And I'm going to make sure that you don't stay here. I couldn't believe he said something like that to me. And I'm thinking, okay, I busted my tail in the academy. It wasn't easy. And now I have someone who has the same uniform I have on to tell me that I don't belong? What? Now, I truly believe I know what that was all about. But he will go out of his way to do ugly things to me, to make me hate the fact that I would come into work. I wasn't the type to call out sick. If I got sick, I went to work, you had to send me home. I came to work every day on time. I didn't burn my leave for the first 3 years of my career, I never called out sick. I never even took a day off. If in my agency you lost paperwork, you could actually get fired for that. I mean, if you didn't have rank, you could get fired for it. If you had rank, oh, they would take that stripe from you. That's money, because every stripe is money. At this time, I didn't have a stripe, which means that I could get fired because I didn't have a leg to stand on. Remember, I'm still a rookie, okay? Well, what this person didn't realize is that for me, I document everything, okay? Everything I do, I document. Why? Just in case I need to go back to look at it for myself, I have it. I don't have to worry about, contacting this person or going to that office to try to get what I already did. I have it. So what he would do, he would come to me and say, oh, you have another delinquent report. You have too many delinquent reports. You could get fired. What? A delinquent report? I'm thinking, what are you talking about? I turn my reports in every day. Every day. Now, there was a point where all of your reports had to be turned in by the end of your shift, except for accident reports. Accident reports, you had 72 hours to get it done. Not this one. I finished my accident reports that same day, and I turned it in, okay? I didn't want to hold off because the next day, I don't know what's going to happen the next day. The next day, I could accumulate even more accident reports I have to do. So I didn't want to be backtracking, trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. So I made sure I got all of my work completed that same day. Well, this was the kicker. So when he came to me and said, oh, you have another delinquent report, I'm thinking, the first time he said it, I was like, how did my report get lost? No problem. Okay, I'll take care of it. The second time he said it, my eyebrows kind of raised. And then the third time he said it, I said, oh, wait a minute now. I know I'm a rookie. However, I am not a dummy, okay? So I went back to my trunk and I went back, I pulled the file, made a copy, submitted it, I was fine. Weeks later, he comes back to me again. Oh, you have another delinquent report. And I'm thinking, wait a second, how do I have delinquent reports when I turn everything in? And then I started to think, remember when I told you, if my sergeant was around and he was the one that was in charge? Well, whenever he was in charge, it's funny, that's when all of my reports seem to have vanished into thin air, okay? So once I started to realize that, I wised up. I said, you know what? I'm gonna catch him at his own game. So what I did was, picture a piece of paper, right? You have 4 sides to the paper. Well, 4 corners to the paper, right? Well, on the front of the report, what I would do is I would put a small little mark in one of those 4 corners. It could be just a little squiggly line. It's like a faint squiggly line. It could be a dot in the right hand corner or the left hand corner or the bottom left hand corner, whichever, okay? I am very meticulous on everything that I do, especially if I have to turn something in. Very meticulous, okay? So what I did, whenever he was working, I says, oh, it's one of those nights, huh? Okay. And I couldn't put, if I used, let's just say I had to turn in 4 reports. If I had to turn in 4 reports, I did not put the same dot or the same squiggly line or a small little marking in the same spots. I had to move it around, so therefore it wasn't obvious. It's obvious to me because I didn't turn in work like that unless he was working, okay? So now, when we all meet up as a squad to turn in our paperwork, he always looks at me and he would always smile and say, "Oh, you're turning in paperwork tonight?" And I'm thinking, yeah, I did run calls, plenty of them. But I said, okay. Let's see what happens now after I turn these in. Let's just see. So what I would do is I had a little log of every time that he was in charge, along with the case number and the date of everything that I turned into him. And what do you know? He comes to me a couple weeks later. "Oh, you have another delinquent report. Tisk, tisk, tisk. This is how you get fired." I went to my trunk, I pulled it out, pulled all of the ones that he says that I didn't turn in that are now delinquent. And that's when I said, no, he is really trying to get me fired. Are you serious? And I'm thinking, okay, you're a rookie. There's certain things you can say to people. There's certain things you can't say. I didn't want to come to him and say the wrong thing. You know, I didn't want to point my finger, oh, la, 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 la. There's certain things that you do, and then there's certain things that you don't do. And I said, I need to know for certain if he is really and truly discarding my paperwork. So this time I didn't say anything, okay? But I have my notebook of the case number and the date that he was in charge, along with the copy of the paperwork that I turned in that he's saying that I never turned in. I know, and you know, by listening to this, you know he's taking my paperwork and throwing it in the trash, okay? Well, weeks go by again. Now, mind you, as the weeks are going by, he is also still doing ugly and nasty, terrible things, okay? Comes to me again, and he says, "Oh, here's another letter of more delinquent reports. You know they're going to fire you for this." That's when I said, you know what? There's a time and there's a place to be silent. And then there's a time that you need to open your mouth and speak up. This was the time that I opened my mouth to him and I said, let me explain something to you. I may be a rookie, but I am not dumb. All of the papers that I have submitted to you seem to have vanished every time that you are left in charge. When you are not left in charge, those papers seem to have always found its way to where they're supposed to be. And they're not delinquent. I said, every time you've come to me and told me that my paperwork was delinquent, I said, I know what you're doing. I have a log of every time that you are left in charge, along with the case numbers that I have turned in paperwork from. Not to mention, I have marked every one of those reports in a special way to help me realize if these are the ones that are becoming delinquent or not. I said, so if you want to keep throwing away my paperwork, continue to do so. But I have a log documenting all of this, including our conversation today. So if this makes you feel a whole lot better by telling me that I'm going to be fired because I'm not turning in my paperwork, I hope this makes you feel better. But I can also in turn let them know that you're throwing my paperwork away. So how does that make you look? And you are the one in charge, right? His eyes got so big and so huge. I guess he realized, uh-oh, this girl is on top of her game. Let me not mess with her that way. You know what I mean? It got to the point where I went to my mom and I told her, this man is creating havoc every time I go to work. I would come home, I was stressed out. I mean, I'm surprised my hair and stuff wasn't falling out because I was stressed out so bad over going to work and dealing with him. Everybody else I could deal with, everyone else I was fine. It was just him. Okay? Now, I got to the point where I told my mom, I said, you know what? Perhaps this is not a career that I should have taken. Because I got into this for the greater good. I got into this because I enjoy going to work every day. I said, I don't enjoy going to work having to deal with someone who is trying to make my life miserable. I said, that I can't do. So my mom said, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to quit? And when she said that, I thought about it, and I'm thinking, I worked so hard. Do I stop now because of him? A big part of me just wanted to say, I'm done with it. Just, if he wants to act like this, just let him go on about his business. I can't do this. I'm so glad my mother talked to me that day, and she made me actually think about what I was doing, because a big part of me, I was ready to give up. Now, remember, I kept all those logs, and I kept this and I kept that. I was doing the right thing. He was not. But my heart, it seemed like my heart just could not take coming to work, putting on this face, as if I am unbothered. But when I would go home, it was terrible, It was a few nights I just cried my eyes out, because I'm just like, how could one person be so horrible? And I'm like, I'm a good person. Like, why would somebody treat me so bad? And I go to work, I go over and beyond. And when I look back at it, I did more than what these other guys were doing. I was going well over and beyond. If I had extra time to help someone out on scene, I would do that. And I'm thinking, what did I do to make him, one, not believe that I could get the job done? Two, what did I make him do to make him hate me so much? And you know what? The problem wasn't with me. It was never with me. When you have people that live off of hate and discontent, there is something that is wrong in their life that they're trying to deal with. And sometimes they don't know how to deal with it except to treat other people ugly, mean, and nasty. Now, luckily, I was actually transferred off of that squad, and I went to another squad. But before I was transferred off of that squad, he was transferred first and went to another squad. So my life essentially got better without him being around. But I still had to endure all of the drama, all of it. And it was bad. Years later, I actually transferred to another agency. Now, because I worked in the same government, I didn't lose any of my time, and I didn't lose any of my leave, which was fantastic. So even though I was starting over with another agency, everything that I worked so hard for over all of those years, like 9.5 years, I was able to hold on to that and then take it to the next agency with me. Now, I was walking through the courthouse now that I'm with this other agency. And who do I see walking towards me in the hallway? Now he has a white shirt on, which at this point, he's a lieutenant. And when he was on the squad, he was a corporal, which meant he had 2 stripes. Now he has that white shirt, and he has bypassed the rank of sergeant. And so the next rank would be lieutenant. As I see him walk through the hallway, my heart starts to beat really fast. And it was beating fast because I was starting to get really upset, because now I see him. This man that caused me so much hurt in my career is now walking towards me. I'm sure we've all been there, where someone or something has impacted our life, And now we are confronted with it. So what do? Do you turn around and walk the other way and act like you don't see it? Do you say something and act like you're unbothered? Or do you just jump all outside of your character? What do you do? Sometimes when things happen like quickly, you don't have that minute to think about those things I just said. You know, you don't have time to think, oh, would I react this way, or would I react that way, or how would I do it? No. So here he comes walking towards me. And he was like, oh, you're still around, huh? I just looked at him. At first, no words came out of my mouth. All I could do was just look in disgust. Like, how dare you say something to me? All you had to do was walk down the hallway, ignore me like you used to ignore me, but not ignore me when you were on my squad. So why are we even having a conversation, you know? Oh my goodness. All I can say is I'm so glad that God did not come for me at that time and at that moment, because he opened his mouth to say, oh, so I see you still stuck around after all these years. You know, I was trying to run you out of here. I said, you know what? I had to bring it back. And I was like, oh my goodness, I just stepped outside of myself. I probably embarrassed myself. But for that moment, it actually felt good, because everything that I held for so many years that I was afraid to open up and say, I let him have it. Maybe that wasn't the right way to go about it, but I felt good after the fact. Now, the moral to the story of, oh, and he just laughed and walked away. Of course, I'm glad he thought it was funny, because after the fact, I thought it was funny too, you know? How could I let someone like this make me miss out from all of the goodness that I have right now, right here? If I would have let him destroy me and cave into all of the nonsense and all of the drama that he brought towards me, I would not be in Texas. I would not be in this house. I would not even be talking to you right now, because I would probably be at a 9-to-5, working behind the desk, wishing and waiting that either my lunch break would hurry and come, or that 4 or 5 o'clock p.m. would come so I could go ahead and leave, so I could get back home to my family. Yeah. So I guess, you know, the moral to the story is, never let one monkey stop the show, because that monkey almost destroyed everything that I have right now. What I have right now is priceless. And all of the things that he did to me, all of the mean and nasty words that he said to me back then, I took all of that to heart. And I tucked it in. I mean, all those words seemed like it just caved my chest in and just kept caving it in. And now I'm like hunched all the way over, because all of those words were just embedded into my chest and it hurt. So glad that I stayed firm and I stuck to what I believed in. And I went ahead and I continued to work. Life is short. Live life without regrets.